Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizzano, and this is another episode of the world famous The University Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you and I would just call this show Online Marketing Moves. We are coming to you live today. This is a special episode. It is May the 19th, 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, today is my birthday. Woo, woo, woo. We are doing an episode today. I was thinking about it. And I said, it's Sunday. And I remember every now and then we used to roll out the Sunday episodes and we used to, have a nice discussion. We would talk about books or motivation and this and that. So I said, since it's my birthday, let's roll out a special episode, okay? This will be uploaded sometime today. Today is Sunday, as I told you. Today is Sunday, and we are recording. But today I want to talk to you about something. I've been listening to this book. It's a book. Let me whip the phone out for you kids. It is a book about Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ. Now, when I put LBJ on the title, and it uploads to the podcast wherever you receive podcasts or YouTube, there's gonna be some kid that's gonna say, LBJ, LeBron James. But folks, we are not talking about LeBron James today. We are talking about Lyndon Baines Johnson. Now, of course, by the time I was born, he died already. Lyndon Baines Johnson, he was president after JFK got assassinated. And I didn't really know a lot about Lyndon Johnson. And then I started listening to this book called by this guy named Robert Caro, Caro, and it's a very good book. It's called The Path to Power. Okay, and I'm about 3/4 of the way done. And Lyndon Johnson, he was born off in the hills of Texas. Okay, and it's a very fascinating book, and it just talks about how he rose from the hills of Texas to become basically president of the United States. Now it's a 3-part book, so for you to hear how he became president and all that, you would have to listen to all 3 books. But eventually he did become president. But it's always more fascinating, and it's always more fascinating to hear about how somebody got started. The beginning stages, because at the end you see the person, you see the polished product. Eventually you see LBJ, he'll be president. After John F. Kennedy got shot, and he'll be president, and he starts I think Vietnam, and he does other things. I had to do more research, but I'm more fascinated. I am more curious about the beginning stages, and the book is great because it talks about how he went to college, and and this episode is about perception and how you look at yourself and how you can elevate yourself from anywhere. It might take a little time. It takes some people 20 years. It takes some people 2 years. It takes some people 2 months. But one of the best tricks that Lyndon Johnson that I heard in the book was he went to college. He went to become a teacher in Houston. He started this debate team, and then he got a phone call from a guy. The guy said, "Hey, I want you to come work for me in Congress. I want you to come be like an aide or a secretary." And so he went to Washington. He was not a senator. He was not in the Congress. None of that yet. He became the aide, but he started willing and dealing. He started willing and dealing like he was the person in charge. He started willing and dealing like he was the person that got elected and was in Congress. And it's very fascinating when you hear that, because a lot of times, a lot of people take the position that they have right then and there, and then they slap it on themselves, and that's their identity for however many years. Let's say you are working in a warehouse, and you are on the cleanup crew. Okay, this is your first job or whatever, and you go, man, I'm just part of the cleanup crew, and you act like you're part of the cleanup crew all the time, and you never try to, and you never look around, and you never think, how can I move up? How can I advance? How can I, push past all this? You can't have that kind of mentality and think you're gonna get far in life when it comes to work, when it comes to creating anything. If you have the mentality of, oh, that's it, this is the position they gave me, that's all I got, that's all I can do, then you're wrong. You want to elevate, you want to move up in the world. I remember uh my brother-in-law. He worked at T-Mobile back in the day. He worked at T-Mobile. He worked inside the store, and I remember eventually he moved up. He moved up, and so he was working from home. Um, he was he had a big role over there. Doing phone stuff and telling people how to work these phones. People from the store would call him, and he would tell them, he would guide them. Like, hey, you might want to do this, you might want to do that. Very cool. He worked his way up. He didn't, because if he would have just said, "Oh man, all I do is work in the store. I do sales in the store. I just talk to people." If he never tried, or he never tried to put himself in the position of moving up in the world, then it would have been he would have still been working on the floor at somebody's phone store. You know what I mean? And so it's the same as my wife. My wife, she started off when we fell in love. She was working at this place where people learn how to culinary school. People learn how to make food, and she worked there, and she was one of the instructors, and then she kept working at it, kept striving at it, and then I remember, she got more and more more and more responsibilities. And then one day, lady that owned it just said, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling," and she said, "Are you interested?" And I remember my wife at the time, she was my girlfriend, but I said, that's a good idea. You already been running it. You might as well, Now if she would have just said, nah, 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 that's not me. I'm just an instructor. I never owned a business. I never ran a business. Then she would have. It would have been somebody else would have bought it, and then eventually she probably would have got annoyed and mad, and she probably would have quit. It just happens that way. You don't want to stick the label on you. And so Lyndon Johnson, excuse me for a minute. I'm enjoying jelly beans on my birthday. I bought this bag of Jelly Bellies. If you don't know, I love Jelly Bellies. My favorite Jelly Belly, I don't know about you, but my favorite Jelly Belly is popcorn, root beer, and bubble gum. They got like 40 different flavors. Uh, you know, if you ever want to get on my good side, send some Jelly Bellies, and I would greatly appreciate that. I'll give you my PO box one of these days. But anyway, ladies and gents, I just told you this is a bonus episode, so we can be a little looser. But as I told you, LBJ, not LeBron James, LBJ, he was the assistant. He started willing and dealing. He started telling people. He put one of the smart things he did when people walked into the office. He put his desk in the front and put the other two people that worked under him in the back, so that way when they first walked in, they could always see him, and he could always know what was going on. He always wanted to know what was going on. He was politicking before he became a politician. Okay, he was putting himself in a position so where he would know some stuff, he would learn some stuff, he could catch on, because he wanted to run for Congress eventually. Now I used to always think, why would people want to run for politics? But the older I get, the more I see why. Politicians, eventually you can get your grease palm pretty well. I'm sure the majority start off like, hey, I want to change this, change that for the people, but for the most part, politicians are, for the most part, in my opinion, politicians are for themselves. Okay, which the majority of the world is kind of selfish, and a lot of people are for self, or for people they know. You're not gonna go balls to the walls for stranger, you know. So it just it's just the way it is. And so anyway, back to what I was saying. Lyndon Johnson, he was the secretary, but he positioned himself to start knowing people, start getting to know people, start to make a few political moves. Then he moved back to Texas, and he got the opportunity to run for Congress. And so he did something that we should all do. He turned every stone because he really wanted it. And this is the part of the this is this last part is going to be part motivation. He wanted to be a congressman so bad. His dad was a state congressman, but his dad was a congressman, but he didn't get along to get along. His dad would still didn't have a lot of money. They lived in the poor part of Texas, like the hills or somewhere, and so he wanted to be a politician, like a U.S. congressman, you know. And so he moved back down to Texas. He started running. He was young. He was still like 26, 27, something like that. So he ran for the House of Representatives. He did something that the other people didn't do. Instead of just driving through the city every day and going to the major cities, he went to every farm all throughout the district. So he would drive over. He would drive through mud. He would drive over rocks, bad roads, dirt roads, all types of places, and he would go to every every farm, every store, everywhere to shake hands, kiss babies, and get votes. And at the end of the day, it paid off because he won the seat in a special election because somebody died, you know. And so sometimes it's you know it is about knowing it is about having skill and all that, but you can always gain skill, you can always get skill, you can always get all that. Sometimes you got to have the will. How bad do you want it, you know? And although, yeah, it helped, LBJ, he put himself in a position. You got to put yourself in a position. But also, the opportunity came and he took the opportunity. How bad do you want it? And I say all that because sometimes, you know, sometimes we're all a little too cool for school. You know, it's like, man, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. It's like, no. I remember when I played basketball in junior high. I really wanted to make I really wanted to make the team. I really wanted to play basketball. Really wanted to play basketball. I got out there and I tried my best. I made the team. I was very happy. I didn't play a lot. Well, that was all right. I, I, I already knew. I could tell from the beginning I wasn't gonna play a lot, but when I got to play, I got in there, I tried to play hard as possible, try to play some defense to get a little more playing time. You know, the next year I got a little more playing time. Still rode the pony pine, but you know, got some more playing time. Scored a couple points. You know, had a nice time, but I wanted it. You know, I ran. You know, huffing and puffing and all that. And so all of us, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have, you know, forget the dream. Forget saying if you have a dream. If there's something that you want to do deep down in your heart, deep down in your soul that you want to do, you just get up. You figure out how to do it, and you will your way to success. You know, luck is not, you know, you want to be prepared. You know, luck is hey man, I got this opportunity. Okay, that's you can say that's luck, but then what are you gonna do with that said opportunity? Because if LBJ would have went the same route as everybody else, he would have lost because he was a not known candidate. Nobody liked it because he was super young. Nobody liked it that they really didn't know him, but he used that. He flipped all that. He went to every place. He went to It's like being a salesman. You know, if your selling is not that great, instead of making 100 phone calls, make 1,000 phone calls. And if somebody that makes 100 phone calls, they get 20 sales, and you make 1,000 and you get 20 sales, guess what? You're selling the same. Yeah, you had to work twice as hard, triple times as hard. But guess what? Eventually, you do enough selling, you do enough talking, you'll get better at it, you know. And then you'll be able to make 100 calls, and you'll be able to get 20 sales. So then you will be the one that make 200 phone calls and get 40 sales. Okay, so will your way. Sometimes it's just you gotta just drive. Sometimes you gotta will yourself, you know. And think like LBJ, not LeBron James. LeBron James, he'll get you fired if you the new LBJ get you fired if you're a coach. The old LBJ, once he got himself in a position and won the House of Congress, and then eventually he became president of the whole United States. And so sometimes you gotta just do what you gotta do. All right, you gotta drive every part of the country, turn over stones to make it, and then that's what you gotta do. All right, but ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, that's it. We'll be back Monday with all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Zano. Thank you for listening. And as always, everybody, peace.